First of all, thanks a lot. Thanks for introducing me and giving me the opportunity to share my thought on the topic that has been given to me: courage, adaptation, and the project economy. I think it's such a relevant topics that I'm going to talk about. But before we start, of course, I'll try to cover up these three areas based on my experience and my knowledge. I think PMI is doing a great job at this point of time, to the best of my knowledge, because I have in Ruby we have few guys have that certification, and Ruby has been practicing it for last 10 years, and we see how a project efficient project management, how it can add value to an organization and to an economy. And to start with a lighter note, all of us, US election is going on, and there is a possibility that we'll be missing Mr. Trump because who has generated so much of fun and humor for all of us. We may not have that. And since today we are going to talk about a bit of COVID and the impact of COVID into our way of thinking and generating ideas, I think I thought of start with a lighter note, like how if you are not digitally educated and you don't have the vision to see the future, what kind of miscommunication can happen. One of the joke was around when there was a tussle between US and Iran. There was a bill passed. It is called Cyber Space Attack Bill, and he signed on the bill. And after a few days, he was the attack was supposed to start immediately. So he was a bit surprised. Even week passes, no one he doesn't see any impact of that on Iran. So he called up the general and he said, "What the hell are you guys doing? Why you are not attacking Iran?" So he realized that he misunderstood what does that cyberspace attack means. Then he said, "Mr. President, it's not about direct attack on them. It's through cyberspace." Then he got angry. So, don't you think I understand what happened to our space forces? Why those space forces are not being used to attack them? So that kind of languages and miscommunication can happen if you don't really up to date with the recent changes or digital transformation that is happening all over the places. So with that lighter note, let me take you through as fast as possible. There are different ways we can look at this kind of crisis. I'm straight away getting into the crisis. There are two ways to look at it. It's a crisis, so get deep into the crisis and get into even bigger crisis. But instead of looking at it, we should look at as an opportunity. Never waste a good crisis. That actually helps us to reflect on whatever things we are doing and what is right and what is wrong. It helps us to, put it into the reset button. And that helps us to relook at whatever we have been doing, suspend judgment, challenge previously, assume assumptions. And you have to be, it forces us to be forward looking. And that's, that's what we need. The courage word is so powerful here. That's the time you need to have a courage to take the next step. Courage to try something new. Courage to adapt to the new normal. And that's extremely critical in this kind of crisis. And therefore, I call it's a great opportunity for all of us to relook, reset, courage to adapt to new way of working. Then the picture is so powerful. Once you reset and you have to adapt in your mindset. I'll spend some time on that afterwards. Then you can grow from there. Yes, there will be some challenges, there are some tasks, because we have never we have never experienced that in the past, so you cannot use your experience to mitigate the risk. So once we reset, then we can grow from there, and it requires real resilience and ability to adapt to adversity. And that's another area, all of us, if we carefully reflect on ourselves, we can build that capability. And that's a new normal and new abnormal, so many things we can talk about. This slides I really love, like it, because if you look at ending part on the left side, it's actually called about there is a normal situation before COVID hit us. That was, that old normal. And when that ended, we are in a state of a denial, we are in a shock and sadness. We didn't know how to react to that. Actually, from that end of old normal, we have come to a new abnormal. Actually, currently we are in the new abnormal stage where we are still fearful, we are stressed, there are a lot of anxiety, but there is no uncertainty as such. We know once vaccine comes, things will improve. It may happen in 2021 or 2022, but that abnormal situation we're in. But we are heading towards new normal with a lot of hope, enthusiasm, and a lot of energy. And that's where you know that the first slide explains it's a great opportunity for all of us. And when you talk about the project economy, and that's what is required, that the vision to see the future, how the future looks like, and that's to me is new normal and beginning of a new normal. Let's look at the way I summarize the whole thing is we need to have courage to change in our mindset to adapt to new normal. Those who will not have the courage to change, they'll fall behind. And I'll share some example who did not have courage to change, how they were neglected and went into the bin of history. And that's why it is very important. Whoever is listening here, show your courage. This is the time to show your courage and adapt to new normal, new challenges, new opportunities, and that's the way to survive. And this is excellent, helping us to accelerate digital transformation. All of you know about it. Now coming back to this new abnormal situation that we're in, I don't think in the history of, I would not say decade, in the century, we have experienced this kind of humanitarian disaster. In summary, it is starting from health disaster. Health disaster is turning into humanitarian and then eventually economic crisis. It is hitting all pillar of any economy, and therefore it is so impactful. Therefore, it is so something so new to deal with. It is unlike the previous recession that we have experienced, and therefore it is something very unique. You need to deal with in a very unique way. And there was also research done. Uh, what are the areas this risk is happening? It was done on 522 professionals globally, the top organizations, and this was the outcome. If you look at prolonged recession of the global economy, and it is all out. Like if you talk about 2008-9, there was a recession, but country like Bangladesh or emerging economy, if you look at I've got a any recession results into cyber attacks and data steals or this sector like that are on serious challenge. Supply chain got seriously disrupted. Still, it is not normalized. We are going through the phase of it. Tighter restrictions on the cross-border movement of the people and goods, even within the country like Australia and many places, even within the country there are restrictions on cross-border, and globally it is already there. So that is also putting pressure on the crisis that you are already in. So I can go on and on. The point I just wanted to highlight to all of you, the crisis is of different nature. It has got magnitude of impact in a multiple ways, and we need to understand that. If you don't understand that, we don't know what kind of challenges we are in and what kind of opportunities to look for under this crisis. This slide very briefly says the big businesses are more, I would say, they have the power to survive. SME is second, individuals and low income group. The lower group you are in, we are more vulnerable to this kind of crisis, and that is evident. On the right side, based on last three recessions happening globally, you can see 17% of the cases, companies became bankrupt. And the latest data that I have read, already this number has gone up to 34%. So you can see this recession is, our crisis having far bigger impact than what we have ever experienced. And in terms of revenue and profit, it will be mostly, and most of the organizations will never reach to that profit even after 3 years of their operation. Moving on. It is not moving. Okay, now changing the landscape. As I said, when we say the project economy, we need to have a clarity. What is coming next? What is after that crisis? It requires a vision. It requires your understanding of the problem. And that's how you know what kind of capabilities, competencies, skills set needs to be developed among the people so that you can avail that opportunity. It applies for the country. It also applies for an organization. Now, let's look at, I'll give you a couple of examples so that you get what I'm trying to say. Like reimagining operations. Say, for example, globally, places like Walmart, then Walmart kind of groceries, or in Bangladesh, we can say Shopno or that kind of organizations. COVID is hitting us. So if you think that it will be running like this way it has been running in the past, then it's a big mistake. We have to reimagine our operation, and how they are reimagining from in-person shopping to curbside pickup. What they're doing is to avoid connection. They are asking, okay, fine, you place order online. I'll park the car. They will pack it and keep it outside in the parking area. So you come and park in the car, and they'll drop the goods in your bonnet, not bonnet, in your back. So that's how they are reimagining operations without coming inside the groceries. How can you meet their demand without taking any health risk? Conferencing, we have already seen from face-to-face sessions to online sessions. Work from home is a common culture, as you have been doing right now. So it was never a norm in the past, and now it has become very much a norm to do it that kind of meeting. And even people are for examination and all education sector, it is going into different level. Like not only having that meeting and classes, but also examination is happening with AI built into that. This is a chart actually shows organization on the men along with digital lines. Because of this COVID, some of these areas has already got impacted. Because of time, I'm not going to elaborate each of those. But for your imagination, even think of work from home, we are all experiencing e-commerce surge. All the e-commerce businesses, if you look at their indexes, those who are operating in the capital market, they have gained capitalization by 4 to 5 times. Communications, video chat like Zoom and platform Zoom from January to April, they grew by 200 times. Entertainment, Netflix, Amazon, they have in the history of their initiation and operation, they have made the maximum profit. Everything is getting online, including education, and redefine customer experience. Now we are using more of RP to give that kind of experience to people, and it forced us to do that. We had to expedite that process. Now, one of the fear, when I talk to a lot of policymakers, talk to many people, they don't want to face, they don't have the courage to face the new norm. And that's what the problem is. They fail to see, and I don't blame them. It's the problem is they fail to see the opportunity associated with that crisis. And they are fearful to dream that opportunity. They are fearful to see that opportunity. And that's why the word courage is so critical. And I want to give you one example so that you understand how opportunity emerges from crisis. And I've picked up this, I've got a couple of examples, but for the sake of time, I'm using one example here. Let's take car. Like in the past, I'm talking about 150, 200 years back, the common form of carrying passengers as goods was, what you can see in the picture on the left side. And then, the basic car introduced, then it was it was more of a status symbol and all this stuff. So then it was gradually getting popularity, and our dependence on the preemptive age, vehicles got abolished. Now, why I'm using this chart? To show you the opportunity. Okay, fine. There are millions of people who used to manages horses or cows or donkeys, they might have lost their job. That skill set was not needed at that after innovation of motor vehicle. But what happened? If you look at it in this slide, without getting into the details, there was a need of having automobile factory to manufacture autos. To support that automobile factory, you need accessories to support that. The automobile factory doesn't make everything by themselves. Then if you look at new demands being created, distance traveling started, dependency of car started. Even 30 years back, it was a luxurious item, but it is now has become a basic necessity for our household. Now to support that industry, you need a fuel industry, all the petrol pumps. You need parts industry, service center, painting. Even it has gone beyond that level. If you talk about add-on industries, can you think of having a car without radio, FM, even CD or deck set? There is a now tracker, IoT tracker, there is a safety gear, there is this, I can go on and on. Because of this automobile industry, now there is a loan section for every bank that you can think of, every leasing company you can think of. Insurance company has got separate division for motor vehicle insurance. Just think about it. One industry got abolished and a new one emerged with so much of opportunities. So one of the submission to our friends in project management, we need to learn to see the future with positive mind, and that will protect us. Let's look at this one nice example, just to give you a break of bit of lighter stuff. Have a look.
Starting this year, Toyota and Lexus luxury models will come with Amazon Alexa.
Alexa, turn on the AC.
Turning on AC.
Finally, a virtual assistant to help you navigate.
Alexa, where's the nearest gas station?
Nearest gas station in 1.5 miles.
And to help maintain your vehicle.
Alexa, order more brake pads.
Ordering new brake pads. Although maybe if you didn't stop so close to the car in front of you.
I left plenty of room.
You drive too aggressively.
If you were just quiet for 2 seconds, 2
She'll
seconds.
talk to you literally the entire time you're driving.
I think you should have turned back there.
I know where I'm going.
Hi, you know why I pulled you over?
No, officer, I have.
Because we were
Starting this year, Toyota and Lexus luxury models will come with Amazon Alexa.
Alexa, turn on the AC.
Turning on AC.
Finally, a virtual assistant to help you navigate.
Alexa, where's the nearest gas station?
Nearest gas station in 1.5 miles.
And to help maintain your vehicle.
Alexa, order more brake pads.
Ordering new brake pads. Although maybe if you didn't stop so close to the car in front of
I
you.
left plenty of room.
You drive too aggressively.
If you were just quiet for 2 seconds, 2 seconds.
She'll talk to you literally the entire time you're driving.
I think you should
Something.
have turned back there.
I know where I'm going.
Hi, you know why I pulled you over?
I
Can you
think
see me?
we
Because we were driving
I
70
can see
miles
what
per
happened to the
hour
screen.
in
I lost the
45
screen.
mile per hour zone.
Anything else I should know?
2 miles back, we rolled through a stop sign without coming to a complete stop. Also, there
Okay,
are
yeah.
illegal fireworks in the trunk.
Sir, I'm gonna need you to step out of the car.
I can see another screen. I can see the screen that is on the back side. I don't know.
it's same for me.
Yeah. Shall I share it again? I think something wrong somewhere.
I think maybe you can try again.
Yep. Give me a. There is also Ajan going on. Let me take that time to fix it. Sorry for that. Something.
It's fine. I guess we're all accustomed to this. But apologies to the audiences. I think we're all somehow, this sort of technical glitches come our way.
Can you see the slide now?
Yes, I can see the slides.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so we have seen that one. So some quick example of other reimagining operations, like after this crisis, how do you think of future opportunities? I've talked about products and markets, that groceries example. Reimagining operations like work from home wasn't one kind of example, and reimagining way of work, that is education sector, online classes. These are some of the examples. Now I'll give you a case study. I think that could be very helpful for many of you. I think many of you know about this example of Fuji and Kodak. Those 80s and all, who still have relying on cameras, a roll camera, roll film, if you remember, 32 to 34 pictures you could take, not unlike unlimited number you can take today. And at that point of time, Kodak was a market leader with more than 75-80% of market share, and Fuji was second after that with a lower margin. But Kodak was the first one who actually developed digital camera in 70s, but they never really bothered, or they did not have the vision to see that could be the future, or they did not have the courage to introduce that, which could destroy their successful model at that point of time. And that's where courage quotient again comes here. So Kodak did not look at the vision, or did not take the vision very seriously, despite having the product ready, and how they put them into trouble. They almost got on the verge of bankruptcy. Then what Fuji did? Fuji price went up after that, because they have reimagined their operations in a different way. What they focused on, what are the strengths we have? Yes, we are in a crisis, that business industry is getting over, but they realized they have got certain competencies. One of the competencies is about collagen and oxidation. This is about the skin and that kind of, like it's somewhere between physics and chemistry. And then knowledge about imaging and x-rays, and also knowledge about chemical products. So these are the knowledge you need to have once when you make a film, not only for a fixed year, even for movies and all. And what they realize with this skill set, what they can do, what they have come up with the idea of healthcare products. One is cosmetics. With their knowledge of collagen and oxidation, they develop high quality cosmetic products, and they came up with diagnostic imaging machine. And that is one of the very popular in various hospitals. Just think about it. They were successfully could reimagine. So they were nowhere close to Kodak, and now they are doing way better than Kodak. So I think a lot to learn from this one. This I've talked about. And now let's talk about creating the value through project economy requires a vision and Ruby case study. I'm coming to this project economy again. I think that's the word that I liked most. This project economy is all about creating skill set of people, mindset of people, so that they can create value for the economy or for organization. It could be social value, it could be financial value. So I think it's a very powerful, but again, I emphasize on visualization of future is extremely important. And I'm using one or two examples of Ruby so that you understand how Ruby operates in that space. BD Apps is the only apps platform in Bangladesh. It's like, app store platforms in various other countries like Android has and so on. When 5-6 years back we started that, our revenue was not even 25,000 taka, and people were saying, what kind of ridiculous stuff you're coming up with, and it will never generate any revenue. But at that point of time, the thought process was, and my belief was, if we introduce that, first of all, we'll enable our local talents to use their talents and come up with their creative product to sell it in the local market. So at that point of time, I was driven by the fact that we need to give a space to our local talents to build that, use that knowledge. And how can we go about that? And the 25,000 taka revenue in 2014-15, now it is generating so much of revenue, more than 265 million of revenue we share with the developers. And some of the facts, if you can look at, currently there are more than 11,000 developers, all over the Bangladesh, coming all over the Bangladesh. All universities are covered. 20K active apps. Just think about it. Even 1 year back, it was only 15,000. For 20% of them female developers. At this point of time, we are running a lot of campaign to focus on female developers because we want them to come forward. And 40 universities are already covered. Just think about that. Now, the kind of thousands of talents we have created within the country who are digitally educated to develop their apps and marketing it locally. Now we are trying to take it to the next level in the international market. Now, if you look at BD apps, what we have achieved, 1,200 students exploring work opportunities here. And they are now being supported. Some of them are earning so much money, even more than 600 earns, more than 1 lakh per month. And some are earning even 10 lakhs. Now they are deploying their own resources to support them. That's how opportunities are being created, supporting 8K developers, 70%, as I said, and it is going up every day. And as I said, in last 6-7 months, it has gone up by at least 30-35%. Now, another example of our ventures. Our ventures is, though startup is a common concept in many parts of the world, but it is not so much of a popular concept in Bangladesh. Ruby came up with this idea, how can we empower that knowledge? A lot of people has ideas, but they don't know how to go about it, how to deal with it. And with that concept, Ruby first started with their own employees, and then they decided to extend it to all over the country. And that's how we have gone for our venture. It's actually a startup platform giving nurturing, education, international training, plus funding. And in the second one, we also brought others. And some of the project, what we are sharing here, these are all successful. Shuttle is a for women bus services based on a platform. Yearbringer, they have got a subsidiary, Freshbringer, which is an online platform. ComEngine, Jachai, excellent platform being used by multinational companies, PIP, The Place, Pixmama, and Parkour, and so on. So all these projects are becoming successful, and now it's getting a yearly event. If you look at yearly event, the kind of things what we have done, we collected more than 2,000 ideas, 182 shortlisted, 54 ideas selected. It had gone through a live program in the TV channel. Then we aired those episodes in 13 episodes, and finally through Gala program, we selected 8 ideas. That created a huge revolution in the country. Now, lockdown stats, if you look at digital books, we have got one platform called Ruby 10-Minute School Platform, which is an educational platform. Again, this one we have been working with for last 5 years. And it has got a lot of global recognition. In addition to that, during this COVID, it has gone, the growth is absolutely phenomenal. And that it shows we had the right vision to be part of the Ruby 10-Minute School platform. And look at the kind of revenue we have collected. Digital books, 76 lakhs, skills revenue, 25 lakhs. I'm talking about various videos we created. App downloads, more than 10 lakhs. YouTube subscribers, around 10 lakhs. Facebook pages, more than around 19 lakhs. Lockdown views, 12 lakhs, and Facebook groups around 16 lakhs. Just think about the magnitude of response that we have got at that point of time. So this is my last slide. Because of the short of time, I'm not going to elaborate too much on that. Personally, I believe the kind of leadership and mindset required to see the future and come up with these innovative ideas with courage. Number one is seize the future. You should not look back in this kind of situation, must not look back and look for past ideas and experiences to solve future problems. So you have to have understanding of what future looks like. And just opposite to that is abandon the past. Of course, you can look back for your past failures, but don't rely on past successes too much. That can misguide you. Come out of your comfort zone, very critical, because when we say courage, courage comes when you come out of your comfort zone. If you don't have courage, you'll never dare to come out of your comfort zone. Encourage team performance. Don't try to be a single player. Don't try to be lone doer. Then you don't get what you should get, because you like to be challenged by others. Diversify of thinking that I've brought in. Whenever we talk about this kind of situations, innovations and creativity is very important. If you mix up with like-minded people, as we do often in our school days, college days, that's a very wrong concept in today's world. You need to mix up with different thought group of people so that they can challenge each other. And that triggers the mind. I'm thinking like that. If you mix up with like-minded people, everyone think like the same. If you mix up with unlike-minded people, then different people will think differently in the same situation. And that will trigger that your thought, why is he thinking in different way? And that triggers creativity, that triggers innovations. So try to practice that and develop multifaceted competencies. Like there's nothing wrong if a finance person have a project management knowledge. There's nothing wrong, a technology guy can have project management knowledge. So more knowledge you develop, more ideas you can successfully execute, and that will eventually create value for the society and value for the country. And that's how I'll summarize it. I think I've managed to do it within the given time. If there is any question, I'm happy to take. Over to you.
Thank
Mrs.
you,
Kash.
Mr. Mahadab, for an enlightening presentation. We actually have a few questions, but due to the time, I will ask one actually. So it was from Mr. Zawad. He congratulates you for reaching out to 5 crore customer milestone. Anyway, the question is how Robi is getting transformed into a next generation digital company during this normal scenario. Did Robi initiated any special project on this? How the outcome of that project turned out?
I think the first project is what we have decided, work from home. Within a day, we moved into work from home. And I can tell you, once or twice I've been to office, I felt very uncomfortable. Every system and process works perfectly all right. Second thing we have done, when you believe in something, you have to take drastic action. We immediately decided 50% of the office space has to be cut down. Because if you truly believe in work from home works, you don't need as much space as you need it today. Third thing is, if you go to office today, it is a touchless office. We converted our office into touchless office. And it is, facial recognitions, everything is there. Even your temperature is done without anyone coming close to you. So it is a state-of-the-art office we have converted with our artificial intelligence and all this stuff. And I can tell you all our optimization in our network. Now, during COVID time, it was very difficult to move into towers to fix your network or antenna and all this stuff. Now, all these are automated. Sitting in head office, even from home, we can fix the network and all this stuff. So I can go on and on. It took us a lot of separate session probably to tell you what we have done. But I've given you just few examples that what we have done, and it's worked perfectly all right. And I've given 2 examples, BDFs and all. We anticipated 5 years back, and I can see benefit today. So that's the benefit of having that. But last point I will highlight, and it is so relevant for PMI. All these things only possible if you can execute it well. And execution is not possible if you don't have a very good culture of project management. Ruby believes in that, Ruby have that, and that's extremely critical as an enabler. Over to you.
Thank you. I think I would ask you another question because I just received it from Mr. Mahmoud Choudhury. He asked, could you please shed some light on your risk tolerance? I assume from Robi's. How do you decide on your risk threshold for new initiatives?
Look, first of all, the culture that Ruby has, if you don't make mistake, you don't learn, and it's absolutely clear. So that's the 6 leadership qualities I've shared. This is embedded into Ruby culture. I allow people to make mistakes, but you should learn from the mistakes very fast and move on. You should not spend too much time. You should not delay. Whatever something is going wrong, let it go wrong, get into the another action, rather than trying to prove it right. So that kind of mindset is important. And in this kind of culture, is what is important is the top leaders has to create that space of failure. If you can create that space of failure, then it will happen. An innovative company must allow failure. If you try 20 things, probably 10 things will work, 10 things will fail. And that's the mindset top leaders have. Then I can tell you in the organization, rest of the things fall in place. No failure, no innovation, no failure, no creativity, no failure, no success in the long run. That's how I see it.
Thank you, Mr. Mahatab. Once again, on behalf of our audience, thank you. And we really enjoyed the presentation. It was well articulated.
Thank you very much.